cannot believe we're down to the last 2 days of the revenue challenge. I mean, I kind of feel a little bit sad about that. Does anybody else feel a little bit sad about that? Go in the chat in the comment section. Anybody else feel? I feel like you guys are like my crew, my tribe. I feel like literally we've been, I feel like you're all my clients. Like we're all like working together and working on your businesses. And I know that some of you guys are my new clients, and I welcome you. And I know that some of you guys are just really taking the challenge, and that's where you're at in your life right now. But I just really feel close to so many of you guys. So thank you for being along this ride with me for the last couple of weeks. For you guys who have been with me the last couple of years, first of all, who has been with me for the last couple of weeks? Who started like last week in the challenge? I want to see who started like last week in the challenge. Gosh, a lot of you guys. Way to go with the endurance. I love it. So good. Who's just starting the challenge this week? Put I. If you're just starting the challenge this week, put I. Okay, so most of you guys were last week, but there's some of you guys this week. So good. Okay, well, the next 2 days are big days, and we want to finish strong. A lot of people can be great starters, but not very many people can be strong finishers. So really watch the hesitations or the distractions that can come in today and tomorrow. Put your phone down, don't multitask. See what you can do to just hunker down, because it's amazing how much blind spots we have on receiving information. You know what I'm saying? It's like you got to run to the bathroom right when that moment when you needed that one thing. Right. And so I'm just going to really encourage you. Multitasking, you will miss things. You just will. You will miss things. So I recommend that you listen first. And if you're really committed to this stuff, I recommend that you go listen again and then take notes. I think that is the smartest, most efficient way to do it. First, listen, see what you pick up, and then go back and re-listen and take notes. That's kind of the cool thing that you can watch the replay on this inside of the Facebook group or on YouTube until we take it down. Now, today, we're going to be talking about messaging. We're going to be talking about your message. We're going to be talking about landing your message. We're going to have it interactive so that people will be able to work with our trainer today, who is Yara Goldman. Is she on with it? Okay, don't bring her up just yet. But she's amazing. I actually call her when I'm having a copy crisis, and I'm like, I need you, because she just helps me think through our products and services, especially if I'm confused about who's in this boat. Like, it's like, how do I message this right? How do I message this right? Right? Like, what am I really trying to say here? What am I really trying to say here? Yeah, see, some of you guys, me, yes, you're in the chat letting us know. So just know this is called a global issue. When you figure out your messaging, it doesn't all go away that you don't get confused again. Okay, what I'm trying to say to you is you're still going to take action, even if it's not 100% perfect, because as you keep working through it, you get more clarity. But also remember what I just said. I mean, we're an 8-figure company, and guess who I call when I'm having a challenge with something? I call your trainer today. She owns her own business. She writes copy for myself. She also works with ClickFunnels and with Russell Brunson and lots of other people. And she has an amazing copy club. I don't know if any of you guys belong to her copy club, but she has an amazing copy club where she helps entrepreneurs like us really figure out how to keep walking through the moments that insecurity, self-doubt, frustration, how those moments actually convert to great copy. Believe it or not, when you're in those emotional states, they actually convert to great copy. And so Yara would say that she would like you to not lose those moments and to actually bring them in to how you lead. We've talked a lot about leadership, right? How you lead and how you communicate. So here's the relief. The days that you had to have it all together, perfect, on point, they're gone. You don't need that. What people want online is they want the real you. And she is an amazing copywriter, trains you. She's going to train you today in how to actually be you, which is super powerful. Now, we have a Peloton winner from yesterday. Oh, you probably already saw it. Virginia C. Virginia C. You're actually on YouTube, or at least you were on YouTube yesterday, crushing it on the comments when Michael was training. We loved your comments, and we loved that you were really having some great breakthroughs. And so, Virginia C., you're going to get a Peloton, which is kind of nice. Today, at the end of your training today, um, we are going to give out homework, and the person who does the homework, we're going to choose somebody. I'm going to choose somebody personally that will actually get a private one-on-one coaching session with me. So who's excited about that? Where I can go in and just work on your business with you for about 30 minutes and just dive into it. So stay engaged, take action, and then I'll come back and I'll join you in a few moments. Yada, can we have you join me on the stage, my darling?
Yay! I'm so excited to be here. I don't know
Hi,
if you guys
girl.
can see me.
Yes. Okay. So, first of all, everybody, you want to talk about commitment? It is her birthday today. It is
Yay!
today, and she still came. She thought she was training tomorrow, and she still came today because she's committed. She's committed to you. She's committed to entrepreneurs. She's had an incredible journey herself to get to where she is today. Lots of self-doubt, lots of had to show up for herself and succeed. No plan B, as Michael was talking about yesterday. Like there was no plan B. She had to move forward and succeed. And she's just an incredible person for me to hand your hearts over to, your businesses over to, your legacy over to. She's amazing. So Yara, I'm going to give it to you, and we are available for interaction with VIP here. So anybody you want us to spotlight, you just call them out, and the team will spotlight them. Okay.
Okay, awesome. Shanna, thank you so much for the lovely intro and for having me come in. I don't take the responsibility lightly or the invitation lightly. I'm here to serve you guys, and we are definitely going to talk about messaging, about making sure that the words that you say and the way that you describe your business is actually landing with your audience, right? And my guess is that there are some of you who are here joining us that are just starting out or trying to figure out who your person is, right? If that's you, drop a comment in the chat. Just let me know. I want to get an idea of how many of you guys are just starting out. Okay, lots of me's. And for those of you who are already in your business and in the swing of things, if you're still part of this crew that's trying to figure out who your person is and how to actually speak to them, like Shanna just said, it's okay. We will all find ourselves there over and over and over again. And the reason behind that is because as we grow and as we learn and as we change, our businesses are going to grow and change, right? And so that means that the person that we can reach and the person that we can help and the person that we can help navigate this journey is going to be ever evolving too. I just lost my earring. That's amazing. Too much head shaking. So I want you guys to just first and foremost get that into your system, into your heart, into your mind, that this is forever, always and forever, an iterative process. Okay. I just sat down yesterday to write some sales copy for Copy Club that Shanda was just talking about. And I took 4 days to think about it. And I was just like, what am I going to write? What am I going to write? What am I going to write? Right. And I'm over here, the copywriter, writing about the Copy Club, and I'm wondering what I'm going to write about. But it's a process, and it's messy, and we've got to make sense of what we want to say to people, right? I can't be like, well, we're going to talk about words and it's going to help you make money, and just come on, it's going to be really fun. Like, I believe that and I know that, but that's not the message that you need to hear, right? The message that you need to hear in order for it to land with you has got to speak to you about where you are and what you're feeling and what you're thinking and what you're struggling with and the solutions that you believe you need. And then I get to pivot the copy and talk to you about what you actually need, right? I like to give this example to people because I think it really helps illustrate this idea of selling people what they want, but then delivering on what they need, right? I have a dog. He's a Frenchie. He's amazing. He's like one of the biggest parts of my life. I adore him. If he ever gets sick and I take him to the vet is going to tell me, well, he needs, Louis needs some medicine. Louis wants no part of that medicine, like 0% part, right? So what do? I wrap it in a nice piece of cheese and he gobbles it up, right? So this is the exact same thing that we get to do for our prospects. It's the exact same thing that we appreciate when marketers and business owners do for us, right? We're just like, well, I want this result. I don't want to think about the process. I don't want to think about the hard work. I don't want to think about the time that I'm going to have to dedicate to that process or to getting that result. I just want the result. And so when a business owner like Shanda just did it with this challenge, right? It's like the 7-day or 14-day or 21-day or however many days revenue challenge, right? What do you guys want? You guys want to generate revenue. She's like, hey, come on, like let's generate some revenue in a short amount of time. You guys are like, okay. And then you get here and she's like, hey, guess what? Let's talk about your avatar. Let's talk about your offer. Let's talk about your messaging. Let's talk about how you're actually going to promote this, a summit. And you're like, oh man, if I'd known all that, I wouldn't have signed up for this challenge, right? But it's selling you what you want, delivering on what you need. It's wrapping the medicine in a piece of cheese that your people will be like, ooh, I can eat that really easily, right? So start thinking about that. And also start thinking about what are the exact challenges? What are the feelings? What are the obstacles that your people are facing? It's not about the bells and whistles or the features and the benefits of your latest and greatest cool thing that you've spent your entire life building, right? That's what we as entrepreneurs want to talk about. We're like, no, you don't understand. Like I have this amazing trainer and we have 27 modules that are 35 hours each. And everyone's like, oh, I don't know about that, right? But if you're just like, hey, have you ever stared at a blank screen with that blinking cursor taunting you and you're desperate to get your message out into the world, but you just can't seem to type the words out? Like I see heads nodding right now. You're like, right? Because it's not about my program. It's not about what I can help you. It's about what I can help you with, right? It's not about the features or how I'm going to do that. It's just like, hey, let's make it so that you can pull content that converts out of thin air, right? So what is the piece of cheese? What are we wrapping around the medicine that we want to give these people? How are we actually going to help them? The answer is story. Yeah, I see be relatable. Story is what's going to actually help you be relatable. And now I love to focus in and zoom in on the fact that when we talk about writing copy and copywriting, people freak out, right? It's like, I don't know how to do that. I'm not a copywriter. I didn't study it. I didn't read the books. I failed 9th grade English. All of my homework had red marks on it. It's just like everyone freaks out. All copywriting is just take the word copywriting and like throw it out of your mind right now. You're just writing words to people. It's not an audience. I don't care if it's 10 people or 100 people or 1,000 people or 100,000 people. When your email hits their inbox, when they're reading your sales page, when they land on your registration page, it's you talking to them one-on-one. Okay. So when you're talking, it's not, hey guys, how's it going? It's, hey, how have you been? Right? Like, I'm so excited that you're here, right? Because, hey, you guys makes us feel good. Like, we're like, okay, we're in a room full of people. This is awesome. But to them, it's like, it makes the message very wide and broad. We want to narrow it in to just them. We're talking to one person. Okay. The other way that we're going to be incredibly relatable is that we're going to share our story. We're going to share the journey. We're going to help it make sense to them why we're the expert in the subject matter that we're talking to them about, right? So I can tell you guys that my entrepreneurial journey started at the end of my divorce, right? It was 2013, and I was in my apartment, like a 3-bedroom apartment, that it was me and my 2 kids. It was the first time in my entire life that I'd been on my own, that somebody wasn't paying my bills. I had started with like $5,000 to my name and I had horrible credit. So the apartment place was like, we're going to take 4,000 of this because we need 3 months deposit because we don't trust you. And I found myself, after having put the kids down to bed, sitting at the kitchen table, holding my head in my hands, tears streaming down my face, because I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to put food on the table next week. Like, this is a real problem and I need a solution yesterday. And I was at a point in my life where I found my self-worth and my validation through things, right? I was like, the more things I have and the better quality those things are, the better of a person I am. That's how I measure myself. And so I had taken, furniture and kitchen stuff and all these things from my other house. So my apartment was like packed to the brim, like every nook and cranny had stuff in it. And in that moment, as I'm crying, I look over on the kitchen counter of this apartment and I have a $400 Vitamix blender on the counter. And I'm like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I have a $400 blender, but I can't put food on the table. And in that moment, I remembered, I was like, I got that blender at Costco, and Costco takes anything back. And so the next day I marched my ass into Costco, I returned the blender, and I walked out with $400 and I fed my kids. That was a major win, right? But I think that right along with that blender, I returned my ego, right? Because I was like, okay, like I am now in a position where I have to make it happen. Like Shanda was right. Like I was in a do or die situation, but here's the difference. I knew I actually had a girlfriend when I was, going through this that I talked to, and I was like, what am I going to do? And she's like, well, you could always get a job at Nordstrom. And this fire ignited in me. And I was like spitting fire. I was like, wow, what do you mean I can work at Nordstrom's? I was like, I don't work there, I shop there. And it's nothing wrong with anybody that works in retail. Like, God bless them. But I was like, I know that I am meant for more. I'm capable of so much more. Right. And so when I returned that blender and I returned my ego, I was like, okay, I really believe that I'm meant for more and that I'm capable of so much more. The time that it needs to come out and show up is right now. Right. And so that's where my entrepreneurial journey started. And so when I share that story, you're like, oh, I get it. Like, I get why she's so passionate about this. I get why she doesn't buy into my bullshit stories about I can't, or it's too hard, or it's not going to work. Right. Like, I hadn't worked for 15 years up until that point. I was a stay-at-home dog mom, and then I was a stay-at-home kid mom. And then I was like, oh shit, something's got to change here. Right. And here's the other beautiful thing. The expert, AKA you, never, ever feels like an expert when they start. Right. And so the most helpful thing, and I hope the thing that you take to heart right now, is that in order to help someone, you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be at the top of the mountain. All you need to do is be 2 steps ahead of them, right? Because when my entrepreneurial journey started, I started as a relationship coach when I was going through a divorce. Crazy. It blew my mind. When the suggestion was made to me, I was like, are you out of your mind? Do people not see the absolute disaster that I just made of my life? And it was pointed out to me that yes, they did see that disaster, but they also saw how I was navigating it and who I was becoming through the process and what was possible on the other side of it. And I was like, wow, that is really powerful. And so I leaned into it, right? And I leaned into, let me figure out how to make an offer. How do I talk to these people about the pain that they're going through? How do I talk to them about the future that they can create for themselves? How do I get them to believe in themselves and in their capacity to do this, to get through this, to make this happen? Right. And so I iterated and I iterated and I iterated. And you may look at me today and be like, oh, well, every email that you send out must be a winner, right? Like every launch that you have must bring in millions of dollars. Every sales campaign that you run must like be gangbusters. No, they're not. Some of them are awesome and some of them tank, right? The only difference between me and some other influencer or some other expert that you might see is that I'm doing my best to inspire you. And so I let you see the behind the scenes where I'm just like, yeah, that last email I sent out didn't work, right? But I learned from it. So did it work? Yeah, it totally worked, right? It's like we do not fail. As entrepreneurs, as business owners, as leaders, we never fail. We always learn, right? If you take nothing away from this presentation other than that, like write that down, tattoo it on the inside of your eyelids. You do not fail. You always learn. And the way that we learn is by asking ourselves 3 questions, right? These are actually the 3 questions that changed my entire life. And I'm not kidding. These 3 questions changed my life. How did I create this for myself? I don't care what situation you find yourself in, what circumstances you're facing, what challenge you're facing, what obstacle, like whatever is happening in your life. How did I create this for myself? It seems at first glance like a super simple question, right? But what it does is that it backs you into a corner of personal responsibility, right? And personal responsibility is the stuff that entrepreneurs and business owners and successful people and leaders are made of, right? Like nothing that happens in my life happens to me. It's not anybody else's fault. I had some part in bringing this into my experience. Either I made it happen, either I tolerated something, either I accepted something that I wasn't okay with. Like I played some part. And the second that I can own that, then and only then I start asking myself question number 2. What did I learn? What did I learn? Why did this experience show up? Why did this person show up? Why did that deal go south? Why did this launch not work? Why did that person unsubscribe? What did I learn, right? Like, what is the lesson that I'm going to take away from this? And then that'll bring us to number 3, which is how am I going to apply this moving forward, right? That's it. It's super simple. And the beautiful part about this, and this is where we're going to come back to your messaging and to the messages that you're hopefully going to be sending out to people and the way that you're going to be communicating with people, is that once you can answer these 3 questions, I believe you're on the other side of the experience and you can now speak on it from a position of perspective and you can teach something. Yeah. So whether it's 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or 5 minutes ago, if I can answer those 3 questions, I've got content that I can send out. Right? I'm going to ask you guys, one of my like hard and fast rules is that if I cannot answer those questions, this is not something that I'm talking about. I am not going to open myself up to the opinions of other people without having first formed my own. I am not going to allow my story to be shaped by the perspective and the input and the insight and the feedback from other people before I land on a story that creates a stepping stone for me rather than a stopping point. Yes? So be very, very mindful of that as you guys are looking through your life and mining your experience for stories that you can send out to your audience. Make sure that you're on the other side of it. Make sure, as Brene Brown says, that you're sharing the scars and not the wounds, right? Because if you share a wound and you're not ready to hear the feedback, you're not ready to really like let people into that space with you, you can spin out, right? And that's what I call waking up the next day after hitting send and you've got like a vulnerability hangover, right? Where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I can't believe I shared that, right? And I think that we've all probably experienced a vulnerability hangover where you're just like, I wish that I hadn't done that, right? And so I want to make sure that you're always very firmly seated in the story that you're going to be telling yourself about this. I feel like I've thrown so far a lot at you guys. I wasn't expecting to really talk about any of that, but I think it's super important as you're kind of leaning into and carving out your messaging for yourself. I see a bunch of hands up right now. I don't know if those are from the last session or if they're for me. So let's take just a quick couple seconds. And if your hand is up and it's not for this session, go ahead and put it down. And then I'm going to go through and pick a couple people. Let's see. I've got Sue Bailey. She's trying. Maybe. Sue, I'll come back to you. Let's try Lynn. Oh, looks like Sue got herself unmuted.
Yeah.
Okay, what's up?
Okay, so I just feel so pleased that you've chosen me. I don't know what to do. I really, really resonate with that story, not for the same reason, but I was mute as a child and I found I was an autist when I was 47. And I'm literally starting out speaking to parents and professionals of autist kids on how they can move forward. A bit like how Shanda approached her, Ashanda approached the karate guy for her son, you know, not around the sport, but around the discipline. It's like, I know it's possible to have gone through trauma, to have gone through bereavement, to have gone through diagnosis of autism late, blah-de, 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 and to have healed that stuff and have turned it around so that I know that I'm resilient with spirituality, with creativity, with somatic solutions, with career solutions. And I'm just at that point where I'm packaging that for my clients. I've only got 2 clients at the moment.
Is there a question wrapped in there, Sue? Somewhere?
Yeah, the question is how do you know when they've swallowed the cheese?
When they move, right? When they buy.
Okay, so they've bought. I had a couple of people recently that bought, but it's like they sort of sabotage. They sabotage, like they want me to help their child, but then they don't want me to tell him that I'm autistic or talk about autism. It's like they're wrapping me up in sticky tape on what I'm allowed to talk to him about, as opposed to me being a really open, upfront, straightforward autist to autist communication.
So I think that this has a lot less to do with your offer and more to do with your own boundaries.
Okay.
Right? It's like,
okay.
Right? It's like if somebody comes to me and says, I want you to write copy this way, I'm going to be like, well, you came to the wrong person.
Okay.
I'm going to write copy my way. That's why you're hiring me.
I am doing it my way. I'm just not calling it autist. I'm calling it divergent thinking, or, you know, I'm still being me. But
but the fact that you said that the parents are telling you what you can say and what you can't say, means that it hasn't been communicated that this is the method that I use in order to connect with the children, is the fact that this is my story. And so I can leverage that in order to connect with the child, right? So it's like if I hire a tutor for my daughter to help her with her math, I'm not going to be like, okay, but you need to use Common Core and like, don't talk to her about long division and I don't want calculators. I'm hiring the person for their expertise and their ability to deliver on a result. So you, as the purveyor of that service, get to stand firm in your methodology and put a stop to the parents saying, hey, listen, if that's what you're looking for, I may not be the right person for you. And that's okay. Here's the overarching issue though, is that my guess is that, like you said, I have 2 clients. And so there's the money issue, right? Where you're just like, oh, like, but I need to get paid. Right. And so, and I understand that. However, there are 7.5 billion people on the planet. Right. So the effort, I believe, should be spent marketing and looking for more people rather than in scarcity of like, I have to make this work or else whatever is going to happen. Right. So I would focus your efforts on finding more of your ideal clients, not just clients. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bless you. Thank you.
Okay. Is it Tunda? Hi. I have a commonly mispronounced name, so I'm always like, oh.
It's Tunde. Thank you.
Tunde. Hi. How can I help you?
So how do I get authentic or personal in terms of messaging with a professional audience of career? I help career professionals go from IT to cybersecurity. So how personal do I get in telling my story to a professional audience?
Have you gone on that journey yourself?
Yes, I've gone on the journey myself. Yes.
Okay. So I would just, here's the thing. One of the things when sharing your own story is that we want to paint in really broad strokes, right? And so the more casual your offer or your business is, the more in detail you can get. When you're talking about something that's corporate or like what you're talking about, we may want to just zoom out a little bit and be like, listen, you know, I remember when I was, you know, going into the office and missing my kids' basketball games, or, you know, whatever your experience was, and the reasons that caused you to want to make that shift, whether it was a bigger paycheck, more time freedom, you know, getting away from that horrible boss, or right, whatever that happened to be, you're going to want to share that, because you're ultimately trying to find the pain points that they're experiencing themselves, and the train of thought that they're having about why they should make that transition, and allowing it to be validated through your story, right? This is something you guys should really write this down. We share our story not because it makes us feel good or for us. We share our stories in service of our clients or of our prospects, right? So I'm not telling you that story about me sitting at the table and returning the blender and like, you know, getting mad that my friend told me to work at Nordstrom, because I'm like, yeah, that was a proud moment in my life. I want everybody to know that. It's because I'm like, if you can find yourself in this story, I know that I can help you. Does that help?
That helps. That makes sense. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Jesse, Brandt. Hey.
Hi, Yara. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for being here with us. So my question is, I'm a parent coach and I work with moms with teenagers. And I am in this work because of my own journey. And one of the things that I feel really challenged in writing about is about my story, because I still have teenagers. And so it's also part of my daughter's story. And I feel really limited. It's like, and I've asked her permission about what I can share and what I can't share, but it makes me feel so vulnerable. And yet I want to do it because I know there's so many women and families who have been where we are.
Yeah.
So it's this real kind of push pull. And sometimes I'll frame it in terms of like my client, right? And I'm telling a story, you know, my story through somebody else when it feels like that's better. But I just love to hear your thoughts on that, because it is a real limiting factor for me often.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, absolutely. I love just how authentic you are, because like I can feel the struggle that you're going through, and like I totally honor that, because it is this space that she's in right now. For those of you here, is where I would love for you to find yourself when it comes to sharing a message with your audience. It's that, like, I knew for a fact that the more my hand shook before I hit send, the bigger of a response I was going to get, because I knew that I was going to like strum the chords of my people. Right. And so there is a caveat to your situation because of your daughter, right? And because of your children. We want to make it a point to only ever share stories that are ours to share. Right? Like it's kind of like your girlfriend coming and telling you that she's pregnant, and then you going and telling other people that she's pregnant. It's like, that's not your story to tell. Right? That's like the easiest way that I can kind of convey that. And so I share a lot of stories about my kids. At least I used to when they were younger. And as they've gotten older, I've kind of found myself in the same situation that you are, where I'm like, I don't want to like put them on blast, you know, but there's also my experience of the situation. And so I think that's really where I draw the line. I never assume to know how they feel, what they're thinking, or what their experience of the situation is, right? I don't know the memory that was created for them. I only know my side, right? And so I can talk about the frustration and the rage that comes up in me when I walk past my daughter's room, and it's a freaking disaster in there, right? Like, it's the only room in the house where I just close the door and I'm like, I can't. And every once in a while I completely lose it. And I'm like, like, you got to clean your room, right? I have no idea why she keeps it that way. I have no idea what's keeping her from keeping it any other way. I don't know how she feels about it. Like, I don't ever talk about that. I talk about me, right? Like, this is what my experience as a mother is. And this is what my growth journey like within navigating that looks like. Right. And so I think that that's really where you're going to find the power of connection with your audience, because it's going to be like, something just happened with my kids, and all I could do was like lock myself in the bathroom and just put myself on a timeout, like when they were 5, right? Because this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm experiencing. And I feel a swirl of guilt and shame around, should I be like this? Should they be different than they are? Right? Like all of these questions are coming up for me. And I'm just wondering, have you ever felt like that before? Because through training, through process, through working with whatever books, right? Like I've actually learned a handful of strategies or tactics that I reach for in moments just like this. And I'd be thrilled to share with those with you if it's something you might be interested in. Boop.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like you're hooking them with the emotion that you're experiencing in that moment, because it's the same. I don't care if it's a toddler throwing a tantrum in Target, or if it's a teenager that just, screeched out of the driveway or slammed a door. It's just like, this is what I'm feeling. These are the stories that I'm telling myself. These are the false beliefs that are coming up for me. And if you've ever found yourself in a similar situation, believe me, I know how that feels because I'm there right now. It doesn't have to be this way. There are tools and strategies available for you to navigate that. And part of the growth process and the personal development process is not that these things don't happen. It's that we navigate them differently. It's that we catch ourselves when we're about to spin out, right? That becomes the win. It's like, hey, I caught myself about to do that thing that I used to always do. That's a freaking win. Yeah? Is that helpful? Awesome. Okay. Okay. Amanda Evans. I feel like it's really hard for you guys to unmute yourselves.
Am I unmuted now?
Yeah, you are.
Thank you so much and happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
And I also happen to be a parent coach, so I'm loving these chats, and I work with kids doing play-based healing. But my question is, I'm like great and so empathic and like love when I'm talking with a prospect or a client, but something happens when I go to my copy and my sales page. But my big thing is my question is, how do we know what's not important to put in and then what is? Because to me, everything feels important. And then my list of bullet points are all there. And I'm like, okay, no. How do we really like hone in to like be like, that's what needs to be in the content?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I read a book called Stephen King on Writing. It's the only Stephen King book I've ever read because I'm a scaredy cat and I will not read anything scary. This book is not scary. So if you're like me, just go pick up a copy of the book. It's amazing. I wanted to highlight every single page. I was like, this is the best book on copywriting I've ever read. And it has nothing to do with copy, right? What he said that really stuck with me was that your second draft equals your first draft minus 10%. Right? So the way that I took that and the way that I've kind of translated that into what I teach is that when we write a story for us, we want to be very exact, right? We're just like, well, Sharon showed up and she was wearing a black blazer with gray pants. Like your prospect doesn't care, right? It doesn't matter. We want to be really specific with our timelines. Well, this happened first and then that happened and then that happened. And what way I have to tell them the backstory about that thing, because if not, they're not going to understand. And it's like 30,000 foot view, broad strokes, right? And so you're telling the story in service of them. So ask yourself, what is the message that I want this to convey? And your emails, your sales page, your anything should convey one point. Okay. Right? If I'm going to talk to you about how you do one thing is how you do everything, I'm not going to veer off into a tangent about, you have to hire coaches, right? Because it's like, which one do I want them to focus on, right? So we want to make one point and then really ask yourself, like, what story am I going to tell that's going to lead the prospect? Like a bridge, you're building a bridge exactly to that one point, right? And so as you write that, go back and look at it and be like, okay, now what did I write for me versus what did I write for them? Because if you are, highly attuned, you're going to want to include more things, right? Like when I hired my first writing coach, she's like, okay, your challenge is for the next 30 days. I want you to write something every single day. And I was like, oh my gosh, how long does it have to be? And she's like 600 to 700 words. And I was like, okay, that's going to be so hard. Every single time I wrote, it was like 1,500 words. And I was like, oh, now the problem is like cutting it back. Right.
Yeah.
So, so just, and it's, this is a creative process. And I think a lot of us here are artists and creatives. And so it's hard sometimes to watch your words hit the cutting room floor, but we've got to remember what our outcome is. Our outcome isn't to write the best email in the world. Our outcome is to impact somebody's life. And so the words that go on the page in the email need to be words that are going to help that person see their reflection, right? It's like, oh, me too. I felt like that too. I'm going through that too. I want that too. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Let's see. We got Tressa. She's like waving at me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm here. This is amazing. You're so amazing. My story is the same. I'm going through a divorce, or I am divorced, and I'm using that story this last couple of years. I'm using that story. So my question is about the backstory. Like, I'm going to use my story of getting divorced, how I got myself from sobbing to, elated and love and having fun. And I wonder about the backstory, because the backstory goes back like another 4 years. So it's an 8-year journey. But there's so many things. And so also I find your stories are medicine for other people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that, and then also, how do you protect acronyms, and how do you protect phrases or things that you say over and over, or maybe it's a modality that you're going to help people with and coach people with.
What do you mean protect?
Like someone's not going to say take your stuff and use it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Can I tell you like how many people rip my stuff off? It's like it's crazy. I mean, you can copyright stuff, right? Like I copyrighted my challenge is called Subscriber Reviver, and Subscriber Reviver is copyrighted. It's incredibly like time consuming, right? And there's an investment required. I think it was $5,000 or something like that to get Subscriber Reviver copyrighted. So I don't know that I would go through the trouble of like I say a lot of times, like turning stopping points into stepping stones. I suppose that's a phrase that I could be like, well, I want to copyright that. I don't want anyone else to say that. But how does it really serve me? I think that there's, if we go into like abundance and like scarcity mindset, I think that thinking that we have to protect and own and do these things is maybe falling into that category of scarcity, where it's just like, just put the message out into the world. Right. Unless you're like Tony Robbins level, where it's just like, make your move. Like that's a Tony Robbins saying, and I doubt that he even has that patented or registered as a trademark or anything like that. Like really, it's probably not the time right now to be worried about that. As far as the backstory goes, and you might have to remind me of the questions. The backstory, only talk about what is relevant. Right? Like there's so many things happened during my divorce, right? And so many things led to that separation and that decision, and why we were able to become co-parent, like such great co-parents, and how we were both in new relationships right away. And like there's so much I could talk for hours and hours and hours about it, but who does it serve though?
Yeah.
Right? It serves me. It's just like, let me share my side of the story. Let me tell you all like how amazing I was and how I navigated this really difficult situation. And that's not really why people are there. People are there because they're being slightly voyeuristic, and they're just like, oh, like she's in a situation kind of like the one that I was in. What is she going to do? What is she reading? What coaches is she talking to? What does her morning routine look like? Right? Like, how did she how did she navigate the first year that her kids had to go away for the summer, right? Like those were the things that they're asking themselves. They're asking themselves, if I get divorced, what's it going to be like to wake up and see one toothbrush at the sink? If I get divorced, how is my first holiday season going to go, right? Like if I get divorced, blank. And so when you can answer those questions for them and tell them how you navigated it and how you felt and like what you thought about yourself and how you reframed it, like that becomes powerful. That becomes the medicine, right? Somebody just said our stories are medicine. It might've been you. Yeah, right. Like that is the medicine that people are looking for. But when you give them that medicine, they themselves know, like, this isn't the only issue I'm going to be facing, right? Like this is the tip of the iceberg. And so if she could help me feel better about this in an email, I can't even imagine what it would be like working with her, right? And you've got to also paint that picture where you're just like, hey, listen, like we just navigated like making a cup of coffee for one in the mornings. Like, what are you going to do when it's just one for dinner with your friends, right? Like if you're ready to have that conversation, like, let's talk.
Ready to go?
Oh, I'm ready to have the conversations. I'm all over it.
You got to get them ready to have the conversations. Right. It's going to be about them and where they are. Okay. Lynn Rose.
And yeah, this is the last one. Okay.
Okay.
Because we have to end in like 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. Make it fast, Lynn.
Quick.
Oh, good. I couldn't unmute. Sorry. Thank you so much. Yara, fantastic. I so appreciate you. And I've been so guilty of where I get all excited about the features and try to tie them into the story and the difference it makes, but it ends up over cluttering the space. So super helpful. My question is similar to, I forget the gentleman, but it also has a second part to that. In that,
literally have 3 minutes and we have to stop. So what's the one question that you really need her to answer?
okay, so with I'm doing a positive social media platform that is designed to drive global change, help people better their world, and it's many facets to it that is valuable. But also in getting the and bringing in and inviting in folks will be resource partners. Think of it as sponsors, and telling the story of the platform, and telling the story of for a sponsor partner. So how do you tie the two in? Because it, also the platform is a innovative new approach, but I'm just curious about how to guide telling that story. So it gets both the platform and for the sponsors and what the difference it makes for them. Does that make sense? It might be a more involved question. So
it does make sense. And I think that, there may be two campaigns that you're running, right? If you're wanting to recruit people to come and join the platform, that's one campaign, right? Because you're going to talk to your users in a different way than you're going to speak to your affiliates, to the people that are actually sponsoring this. If it's telling the story of the platform to the affiliates, then I think that there's a way to do it in which the reason that you created this platform is because you're solving a problem that you saw in the world. And so we're going to talk about the problem that we're seeing and offering the solution that we've created, and then inviting them to participate in being a part of the solution, right? So that's how I would approach the sponsors. You can use that same, this is the problem I saw in the world approach to your users, but you're going to invite them to participate in the solution, right?
Okay.
While also addressing their need for how it's going to benefit them.
That's going to be wrapped up in the problem, because you're going to be like, we know how negative social media can be. We know that blah, blah, blah. Like, we know that there's, fake ads, that there's this, that there's that, like all of the problems that they see, we're going to address them. Like, these are the problems we saw as well, which is why we went through the heartache and the heartburn to create this amazing, awesome, positive platform, right?
Fantastic.
All right, Shanda, I said all the things.
Yay, so good. First and foremost, getting messages. My friend Tracy just messaged me and said she's going to re-listen to this because there was so much valuable information for her to absorb. So I share that with you guys. Who else feels exactly the same way? You're going to re-listen to this.
Yay!
Okay? Going to re-listen. Yes. Okay, so you guys, we have one more day left to the challenge. tomorrow, we're going to end. I'm going to be engaging with how to monetize and pull the money out. So I'm going to do my best, not very best, to finish really strong. Yeah, first of all, thank you. Thank you for just always like just being awesome. And I think you guys can all feel her heart, right? You can all feel her heart. So good. So here's the thing, you guys. First of all, we got homework. So yeah, I've got a homework thing in my head right now, but do you have one after what you just taught that maybe they could do? Because somebody's going to win a coaching session with me for the homework.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it would be really awesome because we are talking about showing up authentically and vulnerably, sharing with your people so that you can really connect with them. I think it would be awesome to find a milestone moment in your life and answer those 3 questions, right? Like, how did I create that for myself? What did I learn? And how will I apply that moving forward? Because that is really the foundation upon which a social post or an email or a blog or a sales page could be built.
Okay, so say that again. Everybody write this down again. Go for it.
Okay, so find a milestone moment or a moment where you knew that things were never going to be the same again, right? And ask yourself 3 questions. How did I create this for myself? What did I learn from this? And how will I apply this moving forward? From the perspective of this is something that we're going to be sending out to our clients eventually, something that we're going to flesh out into an email, a social post, a blog, what have you.
So good. Okay, so if you didn't get that, just re-listen to it again. Okay, guys, really quickly, we, yesterday, if you could pop, yeah, I'm gonna bring you right back, so don't disappear yet. So
okay.
pop for 2 seconds. Yesterday, we made you guys an invitation to be able to come work with us in the club. I'm not sure why there's 2 of me. Okay, so I wanted to just share this because a couple of questions came up, right? So the club is where my team is gonna train you. The guys who train my sales team are going to train you. Okay. So that's a $3,600 offer. We gave it to you for $700, right? So in addition, we gave my list power, which is how to actually build buyers, right? So we sell that at 5K. We've been doing that for the last few months, helping entrepreneurs and discounting it, full transparency. But it's a $5,000 program. And that's what I've been selling it for years. And we made a decision inside the company to come forward because without buyers, you got nobody on your platform, Lynn. Without buyers, you know, Jesse, you're like sitting in a place going, how am I paying the rent? Without buyers, Yara didn't have a business, right? So this is highly neglected place for people, right? And so I'm going to train this next week. So next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, live. Okay. So that's in there. Now, I gave an offer yesterday where you could add style flex selling. Who's done my leadership program? Right? Style flex selling is a $1,000 workshop that Ash and Michael Strasner are going to train. And they're going to train that for you in a half-day workshop. And then they're going to role play it with you. So that's epic, guys. So everything, you got your leads, you got your money. Right? This has got leadership mixed in, not my HCL program, but it's the workshop of learning how to style flex with the different quadrants. Now, this got confusing yesterday, and so our customer service has been blowing up. So I literally took care of that. The actual price is I paid $8,800 of this. If I added up $3,600, $5,997. I want you to see this. I'm absorbing $8,000 for you. You invest $700, and you can bring a friend or business partner or a spouse that maybe you have some challenges getting on the same page with, right? Like whatever that looks like, I don't care. It's a gift to you. Even if you wanted to bring your best friend, right? I remember being in a program, Habit of Attraction. It was one of the first programs I ever purchased. He gave an unbelievable offer. I think it was $700 actually, to do his 4-week program. I'm training you for a whole year. Okay. How to do sales here, a whole year for $700. Anyway, my friend, well, he wasn't my friend. He was my coach, became my friend, made an opportunity to bring a friend. I brought my best friend and I split the cost with her. I paid the $700 and then she paid me the difference and we split it. So there's like, be resourceful is what I'm trying to say, even though I don't think money is an issue for everyone, but I couldn't make this any better. Do you know what I mean? Like I couldn't make it any better. Now saying that, you bring your friend gets to be in the whole year. Your friend gets to come to List Power Train next week. Your friend gets to come to Style Flex workshop. Okay, so I'm not quite sure I've actually ever made an offer that lucrative. I never make the same offer twice. I get excited about things. Everybody wins no matter where you buy from me. But listen, it's an opportunity. And my heart's moved to give you this opportunity. Now it's up to you. You can go to betrainedbyus.com. Bring Yara back, please. Now, Yara has a daily bonus for you guys. What are you bringing in?
So I'm actually going to give them 90 days of membership in my copy club, which is amazing because once a week we get together on Thursdays. And the first week of the month, we do copy planning. So we can plan out your entire campaign, your sales page, your summit program, everything. Then we bring in some expert trainers. Then we do accountability. And then on the last week of the month, we do review hot seats where anything that you've written, you can bring, and I will help you edit it, give you feedback, all of the things. So you guys get 90 days.
Super powerful. So thank you, Yara. I appreciate that. So that's available. That's available for the daily bonus. So that's available until 8 p.m. tonight to throw Yara's Copy Club. Not that this isn't good enough. That just puts the cherry on the cake. So now your friend is not involved in the daily bonus. Okay, so we're clear about that. I can't give your friend the daily bonus with Yara unless she wants to do that, but that's not involved in that. But everything that I offered, you can bring a friend, business partner, or spouse, one person, to all of this for $700. So that being said, I'm sending you guys so much love. The Bring a Friend is available for today with Yara. The Bring a Friend will not be available tomorrow. Okay, so modeling what it is that I teach. All right, you guys, I'm sending you so much love. I'm going to get ready to be able to move over to Coach Washanda, which I'll be streaming on live in a few moments. Other than that, you guys who jumped in, I'm looking forward to be with you. And we'll be looking inside the Facebook group to see who wins the opportunity for me to coach you based on doing your homework. All right, you guys, I'll talk to you soon.